Today we're going to be talking about the different kinds of fishing rods and their applications. If you haven't seen the video that I made on the different types of fishing reels, please see that first as I refer to the lots of information that I presented there in this video. We're going to start the same way as we did in the reel video with the spinning rods. The spinning rods, as I said before, are the most versatile type of rod. This is a 6'6" medium heavy Shimano. It runs anywhere from 10 to 20 pound line and can cast lures up to 1.5 ounces. It's got a really stiff backbone, as you can see here. The backbone is the middle part of the rod, and it has a flexible tip. The flexible tip allows you to feel soft bites, and the stiff backbone allows you to fight the fish. You can fight bigger fish with a stiffer backbone. Some cool features about this particular rod are the bait hook, or the hook loop, which I don't know if you can see here, but it's really good when you're moving between spots in a boat, when you're on a riding with your rod on a bike, driving in a car, walking, whatever it may be. You put your hook here, crank it down till the line's tight, and that's going to keep your hook from swinging around and snagging on something that you don't want it to. Another cool feature you can see here is the two-piece butt piece. You've got the bottom piece here and the top. And the bottom is for your bottom hand, obviously, and the top like this. What you can do now is you can use this to get leverage, and you can get a lot of whip in your rod. This is going to let you cast a lot farther and a lot more accurately. It's also going to take strain off. It's also going to take strain off of your right arm if you're a right-handed caster, because you won't just be casting one-handed all day. This is great if you're doing fishing that requires a lot of casting. Another nice thing about this rod is it has ceramic eyelets, and these ceramic eyelets are going to make it so you don't scuff up your line as much, and you don't lose a big fish because of that. Losing big fish sucks, so you want to do everything you can to keep them. Yeah, so there's that. This is a pretty average sized rod. I use this for bass, for trout, also when I'm steelhead fishing, good for catfish too. They're smaller and bigger. Here's a smaller casting rod, spin casting rod, which I use for crappie and sometimes for ice fishing, for trout ice fishing. One thing you can notice, and it's on the other rod as well, but I'm just going to demonstrate it here, is, I don't know if you can see it, but the first eyelet is a lot bigger, or is relatively large. You can compare that to the bait casting rod when we get there. But the reason that it's like that is because on a spinning reel, the line comes off like this. So you've got the line, which is looping, because it has to come off the top of the spool, and this is going to allow it to keep looping and not get you tangle in your rod, or tangle in your reel. If you use a spin casting rod on a a spin casting reel on a bait casting rod, you're going to get a big tangle up in your reel, which is never good. Going even smaller than this rod is this ice fishing rod, which is what that smallest spinning reel I showed you yesterday is mounted on. So this has a lot of backbone, or has little backbone. It's very weak, and it's great for fighting fish out of ice. You can use this and pull straight up on it pretty easily, get a lot of leverage straight up, and that's good because you have just a small area that you're going to have to pull the fish through, so it helps you manipulate the fish a lot. This is a good rod. Personally, I use this for trout, crappie, perch, ice fishing fish. Moving on now, we're going to go to the bait casting rods, like this one. This is a little bit heavier rod, as you can see. It's a 7-foot rod, a little bit longer as well. Still got a relatively soft tip, so you can feel bites. Feeling bites on a bait casting rod typically isn't as important, because normally when you're using a bait casting rod, you're throwing lures, and when you're throwing lures, you can feel hits a lot easier because you're moving the bait, it's not just sitting there. Nice features on this rod. It's got this little finger hook right here, which is comfortable. you want your hand to be comfortable if you're going to be up casting all day. It's got the longer butt section. It's not a two-piece like the first spinning rod I showed you, but this is going to allow you to get that whip the same way as the two-piece will. It's also got the hook holder. This is this holds 8 to 17 pound line, and I use it for a lot of bass fishing around here. Similar weight you could use for musky fishing, for salmon and steelhead fishing, maybe big trout, just depending on where you are and how you like to fish. So this is the bait casting rod. As you can see, it's got a lot smaller first eyelet. If you can see it from there, I'm not sure. And these range from, this is about the smallest size they make, to a lot bigger, like this. This is a sturgeon fishing rod. It's broken into two pieces right now. It's a 12-foot rod. It's a extra heavy action, and we run 50-pound line on this. That biggest bait casting reel that I showed on the last video is what we use on this rod. Really big fish. It's a really hefty rod. It doesn't have the hook holder, which I really don't like. You can do it without it, but it's really nice to have the hook holder. It saves you a lot of time. You don't have to tie off to the eyelet or to your reel or around the rod itself. This also has the two-piece butt section, which you can use to get a lot of leverage and really fling a bait out there a long ways. This rod, we can cast almost 100 yards. And that's with really heavy baits. Normally when we're fishing this, we're using 6 ounces of weight itself to keep the bait on the bottom, and then you've got an additional 8 ounces to a pound because you're fishing with a half or a whole trout as bait. It's still got a surprisingly soft tip for how big the rod is. You can feel really little bites, and it's really nice. It's a good rod for big fish. Moving on.